Panelists and everyone who's here. Welcome everybody. It's so great to, to have our panelists, and thank you, Julia, and welcome to everyone who's here. So I'm gonna just start, by just saying, a little bit of intro that we do at the beginning of every workshop, starting with a disclaimer that, this workshop is recorded and will be made available for information and educational purposes. The CRA does not make any representation or warranties with respect to the accuracy, applicability, fitness, or completeness of the contents. And welcome. So today, welcome to the Computing Research Engagement and Awareness Workshop Series. So this is, I think, the third in the series this semester. And the topic today is all about Ask Me Anything About Undergraduate Research. And with this, we have some really amazing panelists here today. And really, the whole session is designed to answer your questions and, to see, if you're curious about undergraduate research, I mean, they are here and they can, answer your questions. Before we introduce the panelists, I would like to, introduce the team. So myself, Nima, and Julia, we are, we're co-facilitators and designers of this workshop series, and we're happy that you're all here. What is the UR to PhD program? So it is the Undergraduate Research to PhD program. It's a virtual and synchronous program that aims to increase the number of North American women and gender marginalized individuals who pursue PhDs in computing. So yes, that's its goal, but it welcomes everybody, and all of the programming and all of the sessions, all of the workshops designed as part of that program is open to anyone who is in, it's like at a school as an institution in North America. And there are really multiple goals of this and multiple branches of that program. And right now, you are attending one of our workshop series. With that, we'll move now and meet our panelists. So they will be introducing themselves briefly, and then feel free to ask questions, like we said. And once we're like, the panelists introduce themselves. So first, we're going to start with Kianna.
Yeah, hello everybody. It is so nice to meet you. My name is Kianna Bolante. I am a senior at the University of Washington studying computer science. And for me, I've been doing research ever since my first year, mainly revolving around human-computer interaction, specifically in projects on accessibility, CS education, and social computing. And I've also been selected as an awardee for the CRA Outstanding Researchers Award this past year, which is really exciting. And in my free time, I really love crafts. Like I really love to crochet. I made my headband. It's like a tulip pattern, and I love sewing, jewelry making, basically anything I love to try. So really excited to answer any of your questions today.
That is awesome. Thank you, Kianna. I feel like we need a closer look at the end of the meeting to take a look. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. Thank you, Kianna. Now next is Thien.
Hi everyone, I'm Thien. I am a second year at the University of North Texas, and I am expected to graduate a year early, hopefully. Let's pray. I participated in the UR to PhD program, a part of like the first cohort here at UNT. And I published my research recently and presented it in September through this program. So yeah. I have a bunch of different like hobbies and everything. I like to sing and dance, and I also like to read a lot. Mostly I read queer romances and stuff. That's my preference. And yeah.
That's also very, very nice to meet you, Thien. And then next we have Sonia.
Hi everyone, my name's Sonia. I am a third year at UC San Diego, here in sunny Southern California. I am a computer science major, and my research experience has been twofold so far. So I dabble in both reinforcement learning and bioinformatics. So my experience in reinforcement learning research has been with the Rose-U Spatiotemporal Machine Learning Lab at UCSD, where I focus on developing like recommender systems for patient care and like healthcare settings. And then I've also worked on, and that research was presented at a conference at Oxford. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because I was interning over the summer, but it's really exciting that it was accepted and presented. And my second research experience has been with the ERSP program, where I worked on bioinformatics research, specifically geared towards like the human computing interaction component of primer debugging technique. So it's kind of like improving existing systems in bioinformatics from an HCI approach. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here with you all. In my free time, I love to listen to the Hamilton soundtrack. I am a huge like theater geek, so feel free to talk with me about that. And yeah, it's wonderful to be presenting with my lovely fellow panelists today.
Well, that is excellent. It's very nice to meet you, Sonia, and that's like really cool. All right, so thank you for the introductions. We are gonna keep, that slide here now as we ask questions, and really feel free, as we said at the beginning, and for those of you who joined in after, please feel free to add your questions to the Q&A. What we're gonna do right now, Nima and I, we are going to, alternate the questions to our lovely panelists, and we're going to be reading from your Q&As and also from some Q&As that we have received in the past and questions we've received in the past. Sounds good? All right. And please feel free, our panelists, we will ask you, we'll ask for certain people to answer the question, but then feel free if you have something to add, please chime in and add as well. All right. So, Nima, would you like to?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are questions already submitted, but I think I'll start just to get the conversation flowing. I'll start with some of our pre-prepared questions, then we'll migrate to those. So I guess my first question, maybe I'll start with to Sonia, since you mentioned you had an internship, but you also have done research. So I guess my first question would be, how did your research experience enrich your resume? So how did it help you get to the next step, if it helped at all, or how has it helped you professionally in your career path?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that question, Nima. I think that it's definitely been incredibly helpful. I think the main thing with research is it really teaches you how to problem solve, which while that doesn't necessarily have to do with your resume, it's just like a life skill that can be immensely helpful in a variety of settings, especially in the field of computer science. I think with internships, you're always diving into something very new. Each company has their own proprietary tooling and their own setting and field of interest. So I'll say every internship, as well as any team that you're on, they're all so different. So having something as versatile as a good problem-solving mindset is very useful. And that is exactly what research provides, especially in an undergrad setting. So as an undergraduate in research, you have to learn how to navigate coming into a field where one, you are not a majority, most of the folks on a lab or are, either the professors, master's student, PhD students. So you're already going to be learning how to be independent, learning how to work by yourself. And I think through that experience, you learn how to problem solve really well, which is really applicable in an internship. But yeah, to address your portion about how it helps your resume, I think something really interesting about undergraduate research is that it can expose you to a lot of new technologies or new fields that you otherwise might not have dabbled in, which is extremely helpful. For example, in my research, I worked with it was more of a healthcare setting. So I noticed some recruiters would reach out to me, but they're from more healthcare oriented software companies. So it's kind of interesting how that new skill set on your resume that comes from research in these, various fields can really change who reaches out to you, the types of roles you'll apply to, and just the breadth of your experience on your resume and in your own academic career as a whole. But yeah, do any of the other panelists want to chime in?
Yeah, definitely feel free. Thank you so much for the response. Yeah, anyone else, feel free if you have any. No worries.
I haven't truly used my research for my resume. I've added it onto my resume and I'm trying to apply to JP Morgan. However, just research as a whole, I feel like it's very beneficial because it shows that you're able to work in a team setting and that you take your education seriously, especially when you're in your undergrad, because we don't have to be doing research currently, but because we went out of our way to do it, it shows that we have a willingness to learn and to just go out of our comfort zone. So yeah, and I don't know, I think just doing research is really fun. It opens up a bunch of opportunities and stuff. I got to go out of the country for this, so I think that's really cool.
And really quickly, I just want to add that something I forgot to mention is that I interned at Amazon this past summer as a part of AWS. And the team that I was working on, I actually, like, the project that I had involved speaking with like the science team heavily, and like they were the customer that I was dealing with. So it's really interesting. You'll notice like these big tech companies, they actually have, you know, research divisions within them. And so having that background of undergraduate research really helps when you're learning how, you know, to interact with, you know, other scientists like within the team. So I think in that respect, it's also immensely helpful when it comes to the actual like application, like within the internship or within your industry roles. But yeah, little addition.
Absolutely, thank you. Yeah, Christine, you want to ask the next question?
Sure, absolutely. So, I mean, there's a couple of good questions in the Q&A, so let's like go to one of the Q&A and then get back to some of our already one as well. So, because I really like this one, there's the, I mean, one is a very big one, like we can get to that after, but one is the second one is, how did you figure out what you wanted to research?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I can start this one off. So,
Okay.
when I first got into college, I actually didn't really know how to code. Nobody in my family really knew anything about CS or pursued careers in that sort of field. So everything was very new to me, and CS is a very, very large field. But I do know, like, I guess when I was kind of going about what projects would interest me most, I started thinking more about like my values and what I was most interested in. Like, I know, even though I didn't really know much about technology, I knew it was a powerful tool to impact people. And in high school, I was really involved in volunteering and service. So that's why I kind of made that connection between human-computer interaction, and I looked into different projects revolving around that field. So I think definitely tying it into your values, why you're interested in technology in the first place, and also thinking about like what you want to challenge yourself with. Like a lot of the projects I've been on, or basically all of them I've been on, I didn't really necessarily have the technical skills, or I wasn't necessarily an expert in that field before going into it, but I knew I really wanted to challenge myself during my undergrad. So I felt like thinking of those different factors and the resources and community around you are great ways to go about figuring out what works best for you.
Yeah, no, going off of like what Kianna said, I also went into like HCI, human computer interaction, for my research. And when you get paired with like your two PhD, you kind of submit like a questionnaire of like what you kind of want to already go into research. And what I answered was, I personally wanted to make computer science and learning computer science more accessible to people, because I have like autism and ADHD, and so sometimes learning how to code is really, really difficult. Just given like what platforms and stuff are currently available. And so I got paired with a wonderful team where our research topic was looking at like coding applications and interviewing teachers and asking them about what these coding applications do to help like young kids and young students. And then like this research will hopefully help future coding applications implement all of these features, and maybe any additional features that teachers like would love to help promote self-learning. Because honestly, you can learn coding anytime, anywhere. But learning where to start and how to get help, I think, is the most difficult parts. So that's why I went into HCI and did what I did, is because I want to help people learn. So yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your answers.
Yeah, I can maybe jump to the next question that's in the chat, or in the Q&A. So the question was, what is the purpose of undergraduate research and what are the benefits? And I know that some folks have touched on some of the, like how it's helped you in internships or some of those types of benefits, but I guess like, are there any other benefits as well? Like, are there any technical benefits, or just in general, what are the benefits? So maybe I'll start with Thien this time. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, all good. I mean, like, if you want like something physical out of doing undergrad research, at least at UNT, I received a credit for it, like a university credit for doing undergrad research, which is helpful and stuff. And so if that's something that like you want to look into, but also just doing undergrad research, I feel like helps you realize if you want to like do your master's and do your PhD. I want to pursue my master's and PhD. I wanted to before I did the program, but after like doing the program and doing and like undergrad research, I truly do want to go into researching as my career too, just outside of getting my degree. I want to go into research as a career. So it could help you realize that. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else on the panel, feel free if there's anything you want to add, but no pressure.
Yeah, I just want to add, I think Thien gave a wonderful response. And like they were saying, I think that like unless you actually are in the environment of like a researcher and you see like what lab meetings are like, what meetings with your advisors like, you won't truly understand like what you're getting into if you like make this, decision in advance that you want to go to grad school. I think I when I was before entering UCSD, I think I wanted to pursue like a master's or a PhD, but I had no idea what it meant. I was just like, oh, that just sounds really cool. I get a cool certificate and a cool title, but I did not know at all the investment of time and energy and like what exactly your day-to-day life would look like. So I think if you're considering going to grad school and you don't really know what it means yet, undergraduate research is the perfect place to find out whether it's the right choice for you. I think it definitely like reinforced that, grad school is something that I want to pursue. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. I'd say another tip is if you have the chance to do the ERSP program, I think it's like really useful. Personally, I found it really useful to like learn how to research because I think learning how to learn is very difficult. So finding like an actual course or like people who are, putting in the effort to help you learn how to properly research, like that is priceless. So highly recommend if that's something that you're interested in.
Yeah, and if I could just add one last bit, I think another really great purpose of doing research is just the community aspect of it. Honestly, I feel like the people who do research and pursue greater education are some of the most interesting people I met. They're generally so passionate about the projects that they work on. They're always so interested in like talking about the things that they're working on and like seeing how you can get involved as undergrads. It's a really great, exciting community to be in. Like personally, I'm a TA for the Introduction to Research seminar at my school. So I mentor a lot of students who are interested in research, and everybody's just super excited to like being able to apply, what they're learning in their class or their interests to real world projects. It's a very different environment than maybe doing some of your classes and your projects versus, actually, working towards something very real and that you can contribute to, this world of knowledge that the computing field is.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all so much. Thank you.
Linda, thank you. So actually, I'm gonna follow on that, Kianna. Like on that note of like, doing research got you to be a TA in that course. So I mean, I'm gonna then pick one of the questions here, which is, did research influence decision making with respect to your career path or choices in college? So I don't know, Sonia, do you wanna, start us with that if you're okay with that?
Yeah, sure. I can start off. I think it definitely has impacted like or influenced like what direction I want to go. Like I mentioned earlier, it definitely reinforced that I do want to pursue higher education. I think like something that I did is I would schedule little coffee chats with folks on the lab I'm on, PhD students and master students, and even like folks in industry to like better understand what like each of those worlds looks like. Um, I think the main thing it came down to is that like Kianna was saying, like the people you meet and who are doing research and who are pursuing their graduate degrees, they just love what they're doing and it's obvious. Like it's like brimming, And and I think for me, seeing like people speak with that level of passion, it's like, wow, I don't think I'll ever want to be done learning. And I think I definitely do want to continue down that path. And I think this like circles back to the question of like what benefits does doing undergraduate research provide? And one of those things is just meeting those people, right? So without meeting those people, you won't really know. So yes, to answer your question, pursuing undergraduate research has definitely shaped what I want to do. I think, having that and complementing it with an internship where you're like working like a SWE job, it's like you see the contrast and you realize, it really helps reinforce like which direction you want to go. And also, I don't think they necessarily have to be separate from each other. You can pursue, grad school and then continue to go into software engineering and apply what you learned there. Like, I think there's, a difference between master's and PhD. So then it comes to figuring out which between those you want to choose. I will admit I'm still deciding. Like, I know it should be an obvious choice, but like it's really not, and I'm still grappling with that. So the journey's never really done. To answer the question.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mimi.
Oh, Kianna, you can share too if you want. Yeah. Feel free.
Yeah, I guess for me, I think being involved in research, definitely really exposes you to, what life is like in maybe an academic setting, or like maybe if you're interested in like industry research and things like that. So it's definitely encouraged me to apply to a variety of different career pathways and encouraged me to really branch out in that sense. And I think in particular, like one of my projects revolves around creating a social computing curriculum for middle and high school level students. And I actually got to be able to teach that curriculum to different middle and high schools in Seattle. And I think that also exposed me to my love for teaching and being able to, talk to a younger generation of students and be able to like express my love for computing and teach them technical and also the social aspect of the different technologies that they're using every single day. And I feel like without research, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. And that opportunity also led me to being really involved in other aspects of my undergraduate experience. For example, like in the club I'm in right now, we're creating an outreach program for middle and high school students. I'm trying to tie in my lessons from social computing from that project into that. And yeah, it's just really great being able to do research and be able to really push yourselves to do projects that you wouldn't necessarily think of to do in the first place.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So this next question, I don't want to direct it to any specific person. It's from the Q&A. But so the question was, can you speak on the experience of presenting research being from underrepresented communities in computing? So either gender, underrepresented gender or underrepresented, people of color in tech. So again, I don't want to, poke at any individual person, but if you feel comfortable, yeah, we would love to hear your experiences of like how it's been presenting your research, either at conferences or in front of your lab. Feel free and no pressure if no one wants to.
At the conference I was at, actually, there was a researcher, I'm forgetting her name, but she is known for doing like stuff surrounding like women in computing. And so I forget my research paper, because it was kind of very general, directed towards like kids and everything, she didn't comment on it. But in like another research paper, she brought up very good points and questions about like, oh, have you noticed if there was like anything skewed towards like AFAB versus AMAB, like computer science, like computer scientists, so on and so forth, to just see like, oh, is there like a learning difference, or if there's the things that we need to consider for women coming from a predominantly like male dominated space such as computer science. So just like, I don't know, being AFAB, being queer and everything, you're able to being neurodivergent, you're able to bring in a lot of other insights that maybe people wouldn't have originally thought of, or something. In my research team, like I brought up things about how like certain devices and stuff, and like this isn't necessarily like with like my queerness or like my identity, it comes from like my financial background and stuff, about how like certain devices I like it's really hard to use certain applications on certain devices. And so maybe we should consider asking questions about like, oh, have students been able to like use these applications on maybe their phone or whatever, and is that something that is important to consider for students improving their learning and like being able to and like the accessibility features. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your insights. I want to open the floor. I see Kianna, you unmuted. Feel free, please.
Yeah, no, this is a very great question, and it's something that I feel like we should talk a lot more about in the computing space. Going into college, I knew that the environment wasn't necessarily built to be the most welcoming, especially for maybe a woman of color in the computing field. And there were parts of me where I was a bit intimidating, especially since I didn't know too much coding going in, and kind of comparing myself to my peers in that sense. But I think we're just really focusing on your own growth and really realizing that your own experiences, your own opinions, your own backgrounds, they're all not only do they matter, but they're extremely vital in making the space a lot more inclusive. And I think that's something that I learned a lot throughout my experience. Being a part of research or being a CS major, I think that's something I also learned a lot through mentorship. There's a lot of programs and mentorship programs out there where you can connect with other people who maybe identify similarly as you that can give a lot of great advice. And I feel like that bringing that aspect into my life was incredibly enriching, in that I was able to find my own comfort zone, my own, support system in a field like computing and being a part of research. So I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned, is that, like taking pride in my own identities and not being afraid to express that, since it is so important and it is something that nobody can really take away from me.
Thank you so much for sharing all that. Thank you. I'll leave the floor open to Sonia if you want to, but no pressure. Otherwise, we can move to the next question.
No, I think my fellow panelists have done an amazing job by answering the question. I know, like, yeah, I'm not sure if I could add anything like novel.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you all so much for sharing those perspectives with us. I appreciate it.
Sorry, I just want to add like one small thing and
Absolutely.
stuff.
Please feel free.
Yeah, no, as Kianna said, don't be scared of your identity and everything. If you're scared of like your identity, or maybe you don't like, I guess like talk about your own personal experiences, computer science would essentially become an echo chamber of the same like types of people consistently like talking, which doesn't like improve or welcome others and stuff. And like our goal should be to like I don't just include everyone. We should be inclusive. We should hear multiple different voices and have multiple different opinions, because how can we improve even further if we're locking people out in that manner? So
Yeah, and just really quick addition to that. I think this doesn't necessarily have to do with like presenting as a person of color or as a woman, but I think like something really important to do in CS, if you are part of like a marginalized group, is just go out there. Literally sign up for programs. You're doing the first step here by coming to this today. You're meeting folks. We'll be giving out our emails most likely, right? So, you can like continue this conversation with us. I think the biggest thing for me is like I was really lucky. I got placed in like my freshman year dorm with like my best friend, who is also a woman in tech, and I didn't know we're going in, but now we're best friends. So I got lucky. I got to meet like a lot of wonderful women in tech, and got to meet them and continue growing those friendships. But I'd say like that's the thing. You just have to get out there, attend events, attend as much as you can, and you will find your people. Like it will happen. It's just a numbers question. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. I appreciate that. Christine, did you want to ask the next question?
All right, yes, sure. I see that there is one new question in the Q&A. Okay, I guess we can answer this separately because it's a question about the CRA. Yep. But I have another question on the side here, and I hope you're okay with this. This is actually something that I remember from previous workshops. Students would usually ask that question, if the panelists don't mind. And it could the three of you could answer, and it's about how did you know about the research possibilities you had in your campus? Like, how did it's not about like what is the research or how did you get in the lab or how you chose it. It's about how do you even know that there was such opportunities in your campus? I mean, who did you talk to? Who told you? If you could, share to help others.
I don't know about like other universities, but my university has like a computer science newsletter and stuff that you can like opt out from. But during my freshman year, I wanted to know everything, and I'm actually I'm still opted in and stuff. So I get notifications on just things happening on campus, like computer science wise, and that's how I found out about this. Read your emails. Don't keep them, don't keep them cluttered. Like, please read your emails. Like, you'll find an opportunity somewhere somehow, or attend events on campus relating to computer science and stuff. And that's really it.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. So I guess the next question that I'll ask, so computing, it's a very broadly applicable skill set, and all of you have very unique interests that kind of go outside of your work world. So I was curious, have any of you found any ways of intersecting either your research itself or any of the skills that you gained from pursuing research with any of your personal interests, your hobbies, anything like that? So like, for example, for me, I do a lot of like, I'm a big gamer and I intersect my computing and data structures and algorithm stuff into developing more efficient tools for like building games or like parsing game data sets. So have you found any interesting ways of intersecting your computing background or your research background with any of your personal interests? And I guess maybe leave this one open to anyone since I'm not sure if anyone has in particular. No pressure if you haven't, but. Or do you want to? Is there any kind of like future vision that you have? Yeah, Sonia, please go for it.
Oh, wait, yeah, this hasn't been a fully formed thought yet, so I apologize if it's like really incoherent or doesn't address the question. But something that, okay, so I do this other like research thing on the side, which is more of like a applications-based thing. So I'm a software developer for the school or the Jacobs School of Engineering at UCSD, and I just like approach them, about some ideas for like improving some existing projects that they're working on. And I think like something that I really just enjoy doing for fun, like a hobby, is just app development, like mobile apps. It's very fun because, as screenagers, we grow up on apps and like seeing them, it's nice. So developing them is nice too. So I'd say that's like one of the things I like to do for fun is app development. Um, and and yeah, because I had experience in like research, they started like using the stuff that I developed for them as part of like the research pursuits that they had. So that doesn't really answer the question, but I'd say if you consider developing apps a hobby, my research experience kind of helped me find a new application for that. But yeah.
Yeah, thank you
I
so
would
much for
I
sharing.
would say it counts as a hobby. I would say
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely. Yeah, Kianna, please feel free.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the panel, I did mention I really like crocheting, and actually, my school there is a lab that they do projects on things like knitting machines or accessible knitting. Or I know this one project that happened a couple summers ago where they used embroidery to make it textbooks a lot more accessible, using embroidery to add texture to diagrams and such on textbooks, which I thought was super interesting. I haven't necessarily been a part of any of those projects, but I think that's really cool to see like maybe how like your interests can tie into research projects, and things like fabrication, design, like sewing machines, knitting machines can apply to computing research.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Yeah, Christine, please go for it.
I'm sorry, I know that I'm not a panelist, but you just reminded me of hobbies and stuff, and I remember the story, if you don't guys mind my sharing. There's a professor at Smith College that I remember once told me that he loved origami so much. He's a mathematician. He loved origami so much. He was so into origami that he created the mathematical infrastructure of how to figure out how to design anything you want from And then later his math, I mean, I don't know, I have no idea what the work is really about. The math was later used to figure out how to decode DNA sequences and how to unroll DNA. So like that, so just to show you that you can start from a hobby, from something that you just want to do and work on, and then ended up being used in different applications. Sorry that just wanted to add. Should we move on? Okay.
Yeah,
Do you want us to
Christine,
move on to the
go
next
for it.
question? Yep, sorry. I accidentally locked my screen. Now I'm back. So we have actually a couple of questions here. There is one that says, do you have any other interests you hope to pursue in computing research in the future?
Yes, so
Go
many.
ahead.
So many. I think like once you start researching, like a bunch of questions will pop into your head. Especially when you're pursuing like courses on the side, it's like you're always being exposed to new information and then new questions form and you're like, oh man, I wish I could research that too. But alas, time is always there. So it is not it is a very scarce resource. But something that I'm really interested in that I've like recently realized is the intersection between software and like robotics. And I think that has always just been something that's driven me as a kid. I always loved like tangible things. So I think now I'm starting to realize, oh, maybe like robotics would be a good path for me in the future because I like seeing like a physical product being made. Something that I'll like say is that taking courses that genuinely just sound interesting can really benefit you. The way that I found out that I've even considered doing robotics research in the future is because I, on a whim, decided to sign up for one of the ECE classes at UCSD that would like serve as a technical elective for my computer science degree. And I just attended one of the advising session hours one day, told them my interests, and the advisor said, "Oh, hey, this class looks like it aligns." Um, and that class was really geared towards developing like IoT devices, and it was really interesting, probably one of my favorite classes I've taken at UCSD. And yeah, all that to say, don't be shy to sign up for classes that genuinely just sound cool, or that the CS advisors think might match your skill set. And it might introduce you to a whole new topic that you might have not before realized that you wanna research. So that's the thing. I'll say never like close your learning door. Always, try to read new articles, maybe get like a Medium subscription, get those like, read the random articles that pop up in your feed about like new technologies and who knows what questions it'll lead you to. So yeah.
For me, this is a really exciting question. And I think, yeah, definitely what Sonia said, kind of like some of the projects that you work on, I feel like it opens a lot of other doors to like other interests that you may have or things that you might be interested in. Like, for example, this last year, I also worked on a CS education project revolving around integrating accessibility concepts into the data structures and algorithms course at my university. So thinking about, how we can think about incorporating inclusive design practices, assistive technologies into the technology that we're learning and the concepts that we're learning as a forefront of the design process rather than an afterthought. And I feel like there's a lot of opportunity in that sort of project in terms of like, where else can we include these inclusive design practices other than this one course? Some other professors in my university are trying to integrate those different concepts into their courses. And I think it's a really interesting topic that can grow in the future. And another project I worked on revolved around virtual reality for Parkinson's disease, and thinking about virtual reality and how that could apply to health gets me really interested on thinking of other ways it could be leveraged in different aspects of the health field and the healthcare world as a whole. So I think, yeah, just like thinking about the projects that you work on and how it can be applied in a bunch of different settings is, I think, a really beautiful aspect to research and how there literally is a boundless amount of things that you can do and learn.
Yeah, no, as Sonia said, there's so much, there's so many and everything. Yeah, no, reading papers and stuff, or even now, like listening to Kianna and Sonia talk about like the things that they've researched in has made me want to go down different paths and like go down like healthcare or whatever, or I don't know, just like talking to people, reading and stuff. And like I don't know if it's because like maybe the three of us have like a thirst for knowledge or whatever, but there's so much to explore, and sometimes it does get like quite overwhelming because it's like, oh, there's this I want to do, there's also this I want to do, and so sometimes literally grab your phone, write it down in the notes app and everything. And if you go to one of like the career fairs or just like something where there is a lot of like programmers and coders and stuff, and you remember your question or your like your idea that you wrote down and stuff, go up to them and just start talking, literally just start yapping and everything, and maybe they'll be able to prove like help you deepen your knowledge and get you more interested in this topic that you kind of just had a thought bubble about. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you all so much. And yeah, definitely always speak those ideas with people. I've had multiple collaborations in my research work where like I just spitball a random idea I had and like, oh, hey, I was thinking the same thing. And then like very cool collaborations comes. Absolutely. So there's a question in the Q&A that I'm going to rephrase it slightly. So some of you have mentioned that you have prior internship experience as well. And research versus internship, these two things sound similar, but you know, they're slightly different. So I guess just maybe I'll start with Sonia, because I remember you for sure said you had an internship, and then you know, everyone else can feel free to chime in if you want. So in what ways did you feel research was similar to your internship experience, and in what ways did it differ?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's a lot in both respects. There's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. Just to start off with similarities, I'd say one thing is that you're being thrown into a space that you've, probably never encountered before. Regardless of what internship you're doing or what research you're doing, like chances are it's probably like a new topic to you, or the people you're working with are new. It's all very new. So, like I mentioned earlier, being versatile, being able to adapt to different settings and work environments can be really, really useful, whether it's research or a internship. That being said, I think the differences are plenty. So, just to start off, internships usually have like a very strict structure in the sense that, the project you have is really well defined. Somebody else has defined it for you. You will have meetings, multiple like scheduled meetings, very frequently. I'd say research is a lot more free form in the sense that you usually get to dictate what the problem is, how it gets solved. Meanwhile, like with a internship, usually it depends on what you're working on, but for the most part, like there is usually a clear path ahead, and most of the folks on your team will already like know how to solve it. Meanwhile, with research, it's like new to everyone. Yeah, I'd say like, but something that holds with both of them is that you will want to learn more. I'd say like in either setting, there will be opportunities to learn and like dig deep. Just like a tip I have if you're, interested in pursuing research is that it can be kind of difficult at times to like set aside the time to get stuff done, and like especially if you're an undergrad and you have like courses on the side, it can be really difficult. So I'd say try to make it fun for yourself. I know this is aside from the question, but in the interest of time, I think like something that really helped me is making the research time that you have like fun for yourself. Block it in your calendar, say like from 5 to 7 p.m. on Fridays, I'm gonna like sit down and I'm gonna like do my research. I'm gonna get a fun drink and a sweet treat, and I'm gonna put on my Zelda ambiance music, and I'm gonna like crank this out, make it enjoyable and fun for yourself. So I'd say that's the thing with research, because it's really unguided and like, or not unguided, it's relatively more unstructured than an internship. So you're gonna want to, schedule that time for yourself and make it enjoyable so that you actually get it done. But yeah, if anyone else wants to chime in, please do.
Yeah, please feel free if you want. No pressure, no pressure. Awesome, thank you. Yeah, Christine, please feel free to.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Sonia. Yeah, we do have a very nice question over here. I mean, again, feel free. I mean, anyone could answer. Did you find any challenges in learning or adjusting to the literacy involved with reading academic papers and writing research? Like that's a big loaded question. So, I don't know who could start. I mean, Kianna, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, this is a very good question. It's very timely in that the class I TA for on like introduction to research. So what is research? How to do it? We actually did a whole lesson on this this past week. So I can forward any resources if anybody wants to reach out. But yeah, reading research papers, I think something that I like to tell students is that like you're not expected to know everything that's going on in that paper at all. I think even in the field that I've been doing research in, there's always like a lot of things I don't understand in any paper I read, but there are a lot of strategies. There's like different like reading strategies on how to go through research papers. I know some people like to skim through like the first sentence in each heading first, or they really like to understand the abstract at least, so like a summary of the paper and try to identify the contributions of the paper, since those are mainly, like the most important aspects of any sort of publication that you can kind of break down from there. So there are a lot of different ways to go about reading research papers, and writing it is its own thing too. And like if you're interested in writing research papers, I'd say like if you kind of know what type of paper you're doing or like the field that you're in, just like reading and skimming through, kind of seeing the structure and how they tell their stories on their projects, I think is a good place to start. And there's probably a lot of other resources and articles out there that can give advice on that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is that like it's okay to be overwhelmed and that you're not expected to know everything that's going on in the paper.
I just want to add to that. Everything Kianna said is just impeccable and so true. I think something that I always forget is that the people who write these papers are likely still alive and you can like email them, which is insane. Like to me, they feel like celebrities, and to all of us, right? But you can just go find their like academic email and then just shoot them an email if there's something you don't understand or any questions you have. Um, I know like one of my friends is working on like a presentation they had to give on a paper, and there was something they genuinely like just had a question about the paper they were reading. So they just shot the person an email and they got a response and they proceeded with their presentation, It's like don't be shy. Like the community, it's like a very flat community. Like everyone is reachable in that sense. Yeah.
Also another thing onto that is if you know someone else is also reading this research paper, talk to them. Because sometimes when you read through, you may like piece together something as like context clue wise, but you truly didn't think to ask it as a question and be like, what actually is this? I've had that moment several times. And stuff. And like I didn't realize that I should have asked about what the specific word or the specific term is. And but my like research partner did. And so we asked it to our like PhD researcher that we were shadowing, and she explained it to us, and we were like, oh, this makes so much sense. Like this makes so much more sense. So I would say like if you can find someone to talk about like the research paper with, because it's hard. Reading research papers is hard. Some of them are super duper long, and they'll use words or terms or like research methods, if like you're interacting with like HCI, that you have no clue what they are, and they're all abbreviated, so you're like, what is happening? So yeah, no, like find a buddy. It find a buddy. It really does help. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you all for sharing. Yeah, definitely in all research things, camaraderie is always very helpful. You're never facing any of this alone. So yeah, absolutely. Thanks, folks. Thanks for sharing. So the next question I'll pull from the Q&A. Someone asked, what are some of the biggest lessons you took away from your research? Would there be anything different that you would have done with the knowledge you now have about undergraduate research? So maybe I'll start with Kianna this time.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest takeaways for me, especially as when I was applying to research, so I applied starting my first year, first quarter, and again, anybody can start research at any point in their undergrad journeys, but I honestly, I was still taking intro to programming. I didn't have any like technical skills, but I think with that, like what I'm trying to say is that you are a lot more qualified than you think, and don't let inexperience hold you back to pursuing projects that you're interested in, or opportunities that you want to pursue. Because I think during that process, I just knew I was really passionate about the topics that I was applying to, and I was able to express that in my applications and my interviews, and talk about how I was willing to learn the technical skills to be able to be successful in these projects. And I think that was a huge takeaway for me, is that like if you're really interested in something, definitely go for it. Because especially in the field of research, I feel like a lot of the researchers I've come across, they're super welcoming and super helpful in terms of like giving you resources to learn, or like being able to help you get started in something that you're interested in. So just immersing yourself in that community is really, really great.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll leave the floor open if either Sonia or Thien wants to, but no pressure. Awesome. Cool. Oh yeah, go for it, go for it.
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say that it teaches you to be outgoing, and it also teaches you to not be afraid of like asking questions or not knowing something. That's the entire point of research. We're trying to figure out like something we don't know, or maybe something that isn't super clear. And so I definitely do feel like research has helped me become more outgoing, a lot more active in my academic career, and then also just like not as fearful to ask questions and to be wrong, and to throw out like a suggestion that maybe like nothing happens with this suggestion, but at least I like tried and everything, and like we discussed about it, or maybe something will come from this question that I asked like randomly because I didn't know this thing. So yeah, just go for it.
And
Absolutely. Oh yeah, go for it,
oh
please.
yeah, I was just gonna add to address the second part of the question about like, is there anything you would have done differently? Or that's the question, right? Just making sure. Like, okay, great. Yeah, if there's anything I would have done differently, I'd say like I got involved my first year, and being a first year, also like Kianna, I came in only having done like APCSA or something. So I only knew like Replit and like a bit of Java, and that was it. So I think like, meeting with professors was kind of like intimidating, because you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much I don't know. And I guess like what I'd say is don't be shy. Like everyone is genuinely just there to support you. Like the research that you're doing, like I mentioned earlier, it's very free form in the sense that you're dictating like what's going on in your research. So don't be shy to talk with your professor and figure out like what approach works best for you. Like it should all be very personal in the sense that like, because it's free form, because it's your own like setting up of your project, the support that you get should also be personal. So don't be shy to talk with your professor. Don't be shy to let them know like what works best for you. I'd say that's the biggest thing for me that I would have done differently.
And it's awesome. Thank you so much for your answers. I mean, that has been really, really helpful and great insight. Well, I guess, I mean, I feel like we are out of
Sorry,
questions. Julia, do you want to go ahead?
I know that there was a question that folks had
Yeah.
that was accidentally clicked, but I think, Nima, do you want to read it off?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna type an answer just in case, because I think we're like coming to the closing time. So I'll type an answer to that question. So person that asked that question, I think you'll be able to see my answer in the answers tab. But yeah, we can go ahead and ask Julia's
I
question
mean,
that she had posed.
yeah, I guess then, okay, sounds good. Thank you, Nima. Thanks, Julia. All right, so then I guess, I mean, it's time to then, close out with, the question of, is there anything else you'd like to share about your experience, or anything you would like the participants to take away from this session before we leave? Anything comes to mind?
I'll
Go ahead,
just
Thien.
say, oh wait, sorry, go ahead. I just looked back and I said, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just gonna say that like research is really open, it's really free form, you can do anything with it and stuff. So no question I feel like or is like a stupid question. And maybe someone has already researched this topic, but this question that you had, but not in the specific manner that you wanted to, right? And stuff, and that's a valid thing to want to go into even further of like, oh, this question has been answered, but not as specifically or targeted as I would like to. So yeah, nothing stupid in research, I feel. Just go for it and like put yourself out there, truly.
Yeah, and to add on to that, I think like I just want to say to all the folks who are either in the Zoom call right now or watching this on like a later stream, like good job, because you're taking the right step. Like you're taking the first step to realize like what undergrad research is all about. You're attending these sessions. So like just kudos to you for making that step and like taking the effort to do that. I think that is just really wonderful. And I'm sure you will have a great undergrad research journey and future career path ahead of you.
Thank you all so much for
Thank
sharing.
you.
I guess we're probably a little bit too close to the end to take any other questions. I answered the question that was posed in the chat, but I really want to thank the whole team for presenting. Thank you so much, panelists. That was excellent, and hopefully all the audience got some great questions. I'm gonna go ahead and jump back to the slides because we do have some closing things, so please don't sign off yet.
And I also want to say a big thank you to the participants and all your great questions. Thank you.
Yeah, excellent questions, and it's good that you're all being so proactive about all this. Definitely, the earlier you come, the earlier you like ask these questions, that's definitely the way to do it. So we hold these workshops, CRA holds these workshops to hopefully help all of you learn things that are relevant to your interest, learn how to get into research, all that good stuff. And your feedback is critical to helping us organize useful events that hopefully you'll find beneficial. So please, before you end, take a screenshot of this QR code and open up the survey. We're also going to have a poll that's going to open up automatically when you end this Zoom meeting. And panelists as well, you're all undergrads, so if there's anything that you would want us to present in future workshops or anything, everyone, we would just love to hear feedback from you. But yeah, thank you all so much. And I don't know if Julia, if you wanted to plug the upcoming events that are coming up.
Yes, happy to. So you are all formally invited to join us again in November. We're going to be having a workshop on networking with researchers, so you can learn a little bit more about how to create connections and then practice that skill. In addition to this workshop series, we also have a graduate school application series. Our next workshop is coming up on Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you'd like to learn more about how to write a strong personal statement or statement of purpose, if you're considering graduate school, that might be a workshop series to check out. If you would like additional information about either of these workshops, you can find it on our website, cra.org/UR2PhD. And then if you'd like to register for the graduate school application workshop series, this QR code will take you directly to the registration page.
So I'll leave this up for a couple seconds just so everyone can open it up on their phones if they need.
Then lastly, we do have a new look. So our website has been redesigned. It's a lot more user-friendly and features some of our participants. So if you'd like to check out our website, you're more than welcome to. We also have a LinkedIn showcase page now. So if you'd like to get additional information about UR2PhD, our upcoming workshops, upcoming application cycles, we do recommend following us there.
Awesome. Yeah. So thank you all so much again. We're right at the hour. Again, thank you to the panelists. One last round of applause for the great.
Thank you so much, everyone.
And yeah, hopefully we'll see all of you at the next event. Thanks, everybody.